We are currently live on the After the Scales podcast YouTube channel, and we're also live on Facebook. So if you have any questions for us, make sure to drop it down and below, and we'll answer any questions you guys have. So we're doing an emergency press conference podcast here, and no better to have join us to talk about the big news that we have for 2025 with the NOS Energy Drink World of Outlaws schedule releasing than ESS three-time sprint car champion Jordan Poirier. Jordan, thanks for joining us. A lot of big news to talk about. The All-Stars are coming back, so we're excited to get into it with you.
Yes, thanks for having me. It's an exciting day for Canada for sprint car racing for sure.
Yeah, it's been. I know we'll talk about the schedule as a whole. Half this podcast is obviously Canadian. Well, I'd say 2/3 of it today is Canadian. So we're going to be talking a lot about Canada, but we'll get to the schedule release as a whole. It's been 7 years since the World of Outlaws sprint cars have been to Canada. This is just so massive for us up here. I was starting to wonder if it would ever happen personally. Jordan, I know you're not a full-time regular at Ohsweken, but you do race at Ohsweken quite a bit. Obviously for the Canadian Nationals every year. And then if there's an off weekend with ESS, you're at Ohsweken. And then Cornwall is up close to you in your home. What does this mean for you, a guy who, you've obviously grown up, you're racing in Canada, and you just got a 410. So you've been dabbling in that a little bit the last couple of years. What does this mean to you personally?
It means everything. Especially this year, we've partnered with Glenn with our chassis for next year, so it makes it even more special to go race at those racetrack. And Cornwall, it's a little quarter mile. I've run there for the last 10 years, so it feels like home to have Cornwall on the schedule. I cannot wait to see. I was pretty young the last time they came there, so I don't really remember how it was racing. But yeah, Schwegen is just the best track probably on America. It revolves with Knoxville, Eldora, and all those things. I cannot wait for those guys to see all the improvement there has been at Schwegen. It's a crazy facility. The fan will be packed. I can remember at Summer National when he was getting Christopher Bell, Tony Stewart. It was super packed. So 2 days of Fort of Otla. I limit just on the other side of the country for the second date. I think they can make it. Maybe some 4 or 5 guys will travel and do both. Ransomville is like an hour away, so I don't see why they wouldn't do it. So yeah, it's a great time to have a 410.
Yeah,
I even feel we would need a second one for all those races closer to home.
Yeah, so what Jordan was talking about, when you combine the announcement with Ohsweken and Cornwall with the high limit schedule that's come out, I'm going to put on, so this is the middle of May, and this is thanks to Master Gassers Online. So starting with Fremont on the 14th, you've got 2 World of Outlaws shows at Ohsweken. That's Wednesday, Thursday. Then Friday, Saturday, high limit is at Ransomville and Utica Rome. So you'll notice that there is an off day on the 15th for high limit. So I'm interested to see how many guys make the trip from Fremont, kind of go the long way around and stop at Ohsweken for that show on Thursday, which I imagine would be a higher purse show anyway. We don't have any of that information yet, but I'm sure that's coming. And then guys go, 3.5 hours north to Cornwall from Utica Rome, roughly?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. And then, so exciting times. It's last year there was 3 total 410 races in New York State. Now you've got 3 in Canada, 3 in New York State because July, the World of Outlaws are going back to Weedsport. And we don't know what's going on with the All-Stars yet. So, man, at least double is what we're looking at for next year in New York and Canada. So it's very exciting for us up here.
No, it's a great time. It's a great time. I think everybody's excited. My phone blew away when they made the announcement about it. So today I knew something was coming. So it was crazy to have all those people to come. But yeah, it feels good. It feels really, really good. I'm excited about this. Hopefully the weather's good also. But
I had
it's
to
good.
I had to bring this up. So this is 2017. This is the last time the World of Outlaws were at Oshweekend, and that's Logan Schuchart in Victory Lane 7 years ago. So I don't know. That wasn't his first win, but it would have been one of his earlier ones. That's thanks to Dale Callan from Oshweekend Speedway. He posted the last few races there. So the Craftsman World of Outlaws. It's been a long time.
Yeah, Jordan, I'm curious. You're bringing up that picture there with Schuchart. There's going to be a lot of really good outlaw guys that are going to be competing against you, Canadians. So, amongst yourself and then your other Canadian competitors, who are some guys that you think will be able to, make some noise and try to defend like home turf there in Canada? Because you guys have some talented drivers up there too that they're going to try their best to try to beat Carson Macedo, Rico Abreu, Tyler Courtney, David Gravel. So, yeah, who are some guys that come to mind that you think maybe will be able to get up there with those guys?
Yeah, it's no secret. I think everybody will probably put their money with Dylan's. Dylan's been kicking everybody's ass at this weekend for the last few years. He ran super. If I can remember correctly, I think he ran fifth the last time the 410 were there. He went like 21st to fifth.
I think
It
so.
was super good by the end. So he got more laps than everybody at that place. He got that place figured out. So I think he would be my first choice on top of the list. But you got guys like Ryan, even if Bowman find it at 410, they race there every week. Then the track will be developing. They got on tough advantage. I don't think Ashweekend guys were that powerful back then. Uh, I think in the last few years they travel a lot more. They see more racetrack. It just has gotten better. It's even more hard for us CSS guy that goes there. Like local guys are super good at this weekend, so I think it will be exciting. I think we'll be able to give those guys a shot for their money. For that's for sure.
Do you think long term, Jordan, that this might pave the way for guys to, ESS and SOS might someday become 410 series and not 360 series?
I think it's a long shot. Probably the 360 is really really strong in New York. Uh, it's a step in the good direction for that. That's for sure because you get more races. Because before this year, I think I only had 3 races in a radius of 6 hours. 6 hours. The next was like 8 9 hours for me from Quebec. So it wouldn't make a financial worth it to race 410 weekly, but I think it's a step in the good direction. But I don't see ESS ever going 410 racing, but I think the 360 is super strong. I think it's just good for the racing, but it's good to have some 410 also.
Yeah.
And for an American like myself, Jordan, a lot of us know about Oshweekend because of how much Glenn Stiers has really promoted it down here in the States with all his sponsorships on American race car drivers. So a lot of people don't really know about Cornwall, and I know I was watching Chase Rodman earlier today, and he didn't even know what the track was. So a lot of Americans don't.
I've never been there, and I live here, so.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the smallest racetrack on the World Atlas schedule next year. I would really wouldn't be surprised by that. It can be everything with Cornwall. Some week it's a small quarter-mile high bank. Some week it's rough, fast, or some week it's dry, slick bottom to top. So you can have both. Last time ESS were there, it was pretty slick early in the day, and you just put a little water come feature time, and it was super fast. So I think we were up in the 9 second bracket when the last time the World Vatla were there. So it's a little place, that's for sure. It'll be up on the gas, and I cannot wait to see like 24 cars be racing at 410 at Cornwall because I test. Is it last year? I think last year I test 410 at Cornwall, and it was just and the racetrack was in condition, that's for sure. But it was pulling, like I could feel it. So I know it will be good. I'm excited. I I know Ramon for the last few years, and he was excited about. He just hoped to have a good car count and have a full pack of stand.
That's what I was going to ask you, because I don't know much about the racing scene in Quebec. Like, I know that the modifieds are so huge up there. You think the car count? I mean, they wouldn't put the race there if they weren't going to get the cars. But what would you expect for a car count up there?
I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, Ash Weekend, I wouldn't be surprised with 40, 50 car. Even
Yeah.
like you got 25 regular, you bring 12 Outlaw guys, 10 ESS guy, and then maybe some Ohio guys
Yeah,
that
you'll get
make
some
it work.
Sharon Speedway kind of guys too, I think.
Yeah. So I think, and it just the way it travel, the flow of the way it travel, it just makes sense for some guy that just want to go from Utica to Cornwall also
Yeah.
until they go to Grandview. So I'm hopeful. Hopefully, like all week got like 30 more. I was thinking about it today. Last year when the Element were in New York for 2 days, they had more than 40 cars. So I don't see why with 5 good week. I think the purse will be pretty good. I've talked to Ramon, and it's almost double uh, from what we usually get from World of Outlaws to start money. So I don't see why all the Ontario guys wouldn't go to Cornwall also. So no, I'm hopeful to get like 40 cars.
Yeah, and I know Sean has the full schedule for the Outlaws.
Yeah.
There's a total of 90 races. Obviously, being a racer yourself, you want to race as much as possible, especially if you're passionate about it. But I know a lot of people are saying, maybe 90 races is a little bit too much. There's 21 states on there, and then now 2 different countries with America and Canada being added. Do you think that 90 races is pretty good for a World of Outlaws schedule? Should there be more? Should be there less? I'm curious to hear from you, Jordan.
I think it's good. I think it's good because you'll lose like 10, 20 race probably just because of weather. So you need to
Right.
have all those 90 races to make it worth it. If I was just for me, I would race 125 times a year if I could, if I had the money for it. But I think those guys win their life doing that, so they need to make it worth it. I knew I don't I don't know if it was like 4 or 5 years ago. Those guys are paid more on what they win. So if they don't race, they don't get paid. So to keep them on the road, you need to race. There's no other way to do it. I think they got wealthy enough owners to be able to do that. So I think it's good, and I think the schedule get fairly good. They mix and match with our limit a lot, so I think it's good.
Before this announcement came out this week, I may have leaked it to you a couple days ago when I found out, but um, did you have any kind of bigger crown jewel 410 races in mind for this year, or what were you kind of planning on doing?
I wasn't planning on anything. It's hard. We're still in December.
Yeah.
The SS didn't release any schedule. I've only ran like 7 410 show in all my life. I don't foresee myself going to Knoxville and expect to qualify just the first time. I think we need to baby step our engine program, get it running. We've been to Bridgeport the last race of the year just to see like a fast racetrack, what we can do, brand new car also. So no, I think it's baby step. We need to run a few races here and there and see. We're working with Parker a lot on our engine program to get better. I think our issue now it's been we haven't been able to time trial really good with those guys. So I think they got top notch equipment, so it's hard to be competitive against them. But maybe in a few years we'll be able to do some more 410 races.
Yeah, and being down in Florida here myself, I mean, High Limit has kind of shifted away from coming to southern states in general. I mean, we used to have East Bay and that closed down, so we really only get to see the Outlaws come, from February to the beginning of March. So I really appreciate the Outlaws, sticking to, coming down here and starting off their season there. And then with the High Limit, kind of shifting away from us, I got pretty excited, seeing that, the Canada dates got added and they're going to experience that up there for you guys. Just talk about, the regional healthiness of the sport. Obviously, there's a lot of other regional, like, um, other schedules coming out with Power Eye, and then now the All Stars are coming back. That's really big news for a lot of Ohio guys, Pennsylvania, Midwest, Northeast. Just talk about these other series that are stepping up, trying to give other drivers a place to race outside of the Outlaws and High Limit.
Yeah, I think it'll be hard to compete with the Power, right? What they came out last night or the day before. It's a big point fund, a lot of incentive to get people to run up the whole series. So I think they took that All Star announcement pretty seriously, and they came out swinging, and it'll be a battle to get the second tier guys. So you got a top tier that wants to go either Outlaw or High Limit, and you got a second tier that now it's either IRA, Power I, All Star, and Fast in Ohio. So I think in that geographic position, it'll be a battle. So I cannot wait. Hopefully the All Stars come to New York. So it was a nice little series, a little bit uh, easier to qualify, easier to race. So I think for all New York guys, we all feel like we can battle even more with those guys. So hopefully they come to New York for a few races and we can do even more for them this year.
Yeah, I loved the All Stars. Like it was so cool seeing guys like, I mean, it's a lot of guys that work full time or just race sprint cars on the weekend, and some of those guys, like, they'd show up with a 360 at Weedsport, which is like a really tricky track. And I remember it's a couple of years ago now, but there was like 2 or 3 guys from New York with 360s that made the dash. Like it was, and you hung in. Like you can do it at certain tracks. So it's really cool to get guys like that kind of experience. And you're in the drivers meeting with Tyler Courtney and Zeb Wise and Justin Peck and those guys. And it'll be interesting to see what comes of the All Stars. I know they haven't discussed anything, so we have no idea what their schedule is going to be. If it's just going to be like a dozen races or something, but I'm excited for that. It was a great series. And yeah, like you said, if they just add a couple more races to New York or close to Canada, like it's going to further incentivize people to invest in the 410.
Yeah, I think it'll be like a work in progress. So to get those guys to come back in and battle for the territory, it was only High Limit that came almost last year. So I think it's a dirt car trying to get back onto the north. So hopefully they battle even more next year and come make a bigger swing. So or 2 swing.
I am curious because I haven't asked anybody. I'm going to the Oshweekend banquet tomorrow, so I'll maybe ask a couple people. I know the last time the All Stars and the Outlaws came up here, there was an issue with their souvenir trailers getting across the border and having to declare how much they sold when they returned to the States, and they had to leave their merch trailers basically behind. So like I think the last time the Outlaws were here, there was no souvenir trailers. So that's such a big part of how those guys make a living. I'm sure that'll be ironed out and that'll be a part of the discussions, but I am curious about that aspect of it because yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, hopefully they don't get any trouble. I feel like since the pandemic and it was easier for us to travel. I know some people had a little bit of issue at some of the border in Ontario,
Yeah.
but I feel like for us, it's been way more fluid to travel in between the both of them. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I don't want to see those guys have any trouble. I felt like even before the announcement, I felt like the only chance we had it was if NASCAR was coming back in Canada and get all those guys to get back to have a passport because probably some of those guys they didn't
Yeah.
even have a passport. So I was waiting for that when they were talking about NASCAR going back to Montreal. I think I was like, that's our best shot to get the Outlaw or High Limit back in Canada, but feel like maybe it came in on its own.
I didn't even think of that. Like how many guys might not have a passport? Like
Yeah, I
these
feel
are
like probably all of them.
because I mean, I haven't been up here in 7 years, so you might have had one the last time you raced here, and then you just let it expire,
Yeah,
especially after the pandemic, right? So, yeah, that's another wrench that. So you got to think. Obviously, these discussions have been going on behind the scenes, and guys have been said, "Hey, this could happen. You might want to get on this." Because yeah,
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, I didn't even cross my mind, but
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was probably the biggest battle in between Outlaw and Element. You don't want to lose a traveling guy that just because he doesn't want to travel and cross the country. So it's a bold move from Outlaw, and I respect it. That's for sure.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, even for American like myself, I think this new schedule kind of gives me a reason to renew my passport, and
Yeah,
maybe
we got a place to stay, man.
I might have to take a trip just to see it.
You need to see it. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
and the parties at Oshweekend, if the Canadian Nationals are any indication, it's going to be a good time when the Outlaws come up here. It's been 7 years in the making, so there'll be some people phoning in sick to work that week. I think
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure.
maybe me. All
Uh,
right, go ahead.
Jordan, I was just gonna see, you mentioned about, investing from the 360 engine over to the 410 engine. Talk to the viewers that might not know a lot about the technical side of sprint cars. How much have a difference has it been, running the 360 engine, obviously moving up to the 410, 900 horsepower, a lot more, everything happens quicker. Just talk about, how much more time and energy and effort going into a bigger engine like that, because a lot of guys in Canada have the 360s, and going to the 410 might be a kind of a eye-opening thing for them.
Yeah, I didn't feel at first. I didn't feel like it was much difference. I felt like it was faster, a little lighter in the front, but I didn't have any issue. Probably just because we were used to the racetrack we were running so much. It's slick. You don't use the engine so much. And then we travel to Lincoln and Bridgeport, and it's like a different kind of world. I think it beyond the 360 versus the 410. It just faster. The front wants to lift on you every time. The dirty air is crazy. As I didn't feel that like dirty air was an issue in 360, and then you get it in 410, and like it just picked up the front like right away. So I think it's just for me the speed wasn't an issue. Maybe it was like setup wise. It got so much power that you need to find different kind of adjustment. But I felt like it was like the light front. The aluminum block is like 50 pounds lighter in the front, so it just want to picked up on you. I think it's the only difference I feel like, but I haven't run and way enough 410 race to really find a particular thing that it's different. I'm just trying my best to drive and
Is
adjust
there
the car after that.
is there a place this like next year where if the schedule allows, you'd really like to go?
I honestly, I've had a blast at Bridgeport. That track
That
is
place is crazy.
fast. It's
Yeah.
nasty fast. It just a nice place. I feel like I've been fortunate enough to travel. Like last year, we went to Leonardville.
Mhm.
That's a man's place. Like it was big, curved up. It was really fun to drive. We really love that place. But no, we'd like to return that. We've seen Western PA drop their schedule, but I don't think we'll be able to make it work. I think we'll be at this weekend again at this moment. So
Mm.
no, it's good. There's a lot of nice track east, so we'll try to do one by one.
Well, I feel like you've been doing really good for yourself. Obviously, you've won the ESS championship now 3 times. I think you might have to change your number from 28 to 23 for Air Jordan Poirier. So what are some goals for you, like moving forward? Because obviously, there's a lot of really competitive equipment and drivers out there that you compete against. So what are some goals that you have set for yourself for obviously for 2025 and maybe even more in the future down the road?
I think our goal for next year will be to win the championship with ESS. I think we'll be back. I don't see why we wouldn't be back. It's always we always start the season with that goal, and then we fine tune right there. I'd really like to win a 410 races, that's for sure. We came close to last year at Leonardville when we finished second behind Flick. I think it's our two goal, just win more races. I feel like we've been consistent. We had an issue. We had a brand new car this year, and we really didn't like it, and just lost half our season working on it. So hopefully we can just win more races, be more. I want to say be more consistent, but that's the only thing we had this year. But just win more races. That's why we do it. We travel up and down the road just to try to go win races.
Jake Hadley wants to know in our Facebook comments here, wants to know what kind of beer you like. So if you win a 410 race at Oshweekend, what are you going to be crushing in victory lane?
Oh, any beer that somebody
that
gives
50
me.
Molson Export? What are the
Any Canadian beer, that's for sure. No American beer for that.
What's wrong with American beer? Come on.
We got
well,
the best.
when you're up here and you have a choice. All right. Well, I don't have anything else unless you do, Jacob or Jordan, anything else, because we do want to get you on for an official episode. But this news was really exciting for us up here in Canada, especially. So we wanted to do an emergency podcast and celebrate the fact that we're going to have 410 racing in Canada next year.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what anybody says on social media or anything. I think sprint cars are in a healthy place. A lot of new series, a lot of money, a lot of sponsors, a lot of money pouring into the sport. I know on the late model side, there's a lot of regional things shutting down, getting rid of. So that's obviously a good thing for the sprints that they're, still caring about the regional guys and not just, trying to make it like a NASCAR. So definitely excited for you guys up in the Northeast and definitely excited to, get to a lot of races this year.
All right. So we will, we thank everyone who tuned in to watch. We will edit this and crop this out so we can just post it later on for, you can watch it at any time on our social media channels. But for now, thanks for tuning in. And thanks again for Jordan for coming on last minute. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.